Human ambassador falls for alien warrior princess. The trading post hung in the darkness between stars like a forgotten promise. Sarah Mitchell pressed her palm against the observation window and watched 3 alien warships dock at the far platform. Her translator device buzzed against her collar as dozens of species moved through the corridors behind her. 6 months serving as Earth's commercial liaison had taught her that most aliens found humans boring at best and primitive at worst. The Xanthir delegation arrived without warning. Sarah knew their reputation even before the security feeds showed their approach. Warriors from the edge of known space, a matriarchal society that had conquered 12 star systems through superior tactics and unbreakable discipline. The galaxy feared them and respected them in equal measure. Commander Vexa of the Xanthir Third Fleet walked into the negotiation chamber like she owned the station. She stood nearly 7 feet tall with skin that shimmered between deep purple and midnight blue. Her eyes were solid silver without visible pupils. 4 arms moved with practiced grace as she dismissed her guards with a gesture. Traditional armor covered her torso in overlapping plates that seemed to shift and breathe with her movements. Sarah had prepared for this meeting by studying every available file on Xanthir culture. She knew they valued directness over diplomacy and strength over flattery. The other human ambassadors had warned her that Xanthir commanders rarely bothered with species they considered weak. The meeting started poorly. Vexa barely glanced at the standard trade proposals Sarah had arranged across the table. Her silver eyes swept over the human ambassador with what seemed like dismissive evaluation. Sarah felt herself being measured and found wanting. Then everything changed when pirates attacked the station. The explosion rocked the negotiation chamber and sent Sarah sprawling. Emergency lights flashed as atmosphere breach warnings screamed through the corridors. Vexa moved with impossible speed and caught Sarah before she hit the floor. 2 of her forearms steadied the human while the other 2 drew weapons from hidden sheaths. Sarah's combat training kicked in despite 6 months of peaceful negotiations. She grabbed the emergency kit from the wall compartment and pulled out a plasma torch and sealing foam. Vexa watched with surprise as the human ambassador moved toward the breach instead of away from it. The raiders came through the damaged wall in a rush of violence. 5 of them in mismatched armor carrying weapons too advanced for common criminals. They expected easy targets in a diplomatic area. They found Sarah Mitchell wielding a plasma torch like a club, and Vexa defending her with calculated precision. The fight lasted 90 seconds. Sarah took down one raider by blinding him with the torch and kicking his legs out from under him. She sealed the atmosphere breach while Vexa handled the other 4 with brutal efficiency. When station security finally arrived, they found 2 humans and 1 Xanthir, standing over 5 unconscious pirates. Vexa stared at Sarah with an expression the human could not read. The commander's silver eyes seemed to glow brighter in the emergency lighting. She spoke in her own language, and Sarah's translator struggled with the nuance before settling on something close to shock mixed with respect. The negotiations resumed 3 hours later after medical teams cleared both ambassadors. Vexa sat across from Sarah with completely different body language. Where before she had seemed distant and dismissive, now she leaned forward with focused attention. Her questions about Earth became personal rather than procedural. Sarah explained human history with careful honesty. The wars and struggles. The slow climb from primitive violence to space exploration. The fact that humanity still fought among itself even as it reached for the stars. She did not hide Earth's weaknesses or exaggerate its strengths. Vexa listened without interruption. When Sarah finished, the commander spoke about her own people. The Xanthir had been slaves once, conquered by an empire that saw them as little more than tools. They had won their freedom through rebellion that cost millions of lives. Every Xanthir knew the price of weakness and the value of strength. Something shifted in that conversation. Sarah saw past the warrior commander to the person beneath. Vexa saw past the fragile human to someone who understood survival. The trade agreement that emerged over the following weeks surprised everyone. Earth gained access to Xanthir military technology in exchange for human cultural archives and medical knowledge. Other species watched nervously as humanity and the Xanthir began formal cooperation. Sarah and Vexa met daily to work through the details. Their conversations expanded beyond trade to philosophy and art and personal history. Sarah learned that Vexa commanded respect through competence earned over decades of service. Vexa discovered that Sarah had left a promising military career to serve in diplomacy because she believed in building rather than destroying. The attraction grew slowly like a plant reaching toward light. Sarah caught herself watching the way Vexa's armor plates shifted when she laughed. Vexa found reasons to extend their meetings beyond what negotiation required. Neither acknowledged what was happening until the night Vexa appeared at Sarah's quarters without warning. The Xanthir commander stood in the doorway, looking uncertain for the first time since they met. Her silver eyes held a question she seemed afraid to voice. Sarah stepped back and gestured her inside without hesitation. They talked through the night about things that had nothing to do with trade agreements. Vexa described her homeworld's twin moons and the sound of wind through crystal forests. Sarah shared memories of Earth's oceans and the smell of rain on summer pavement. They discovered they both loved music despite coming from cultures separated by thousands of light years. Dawn found them sitting close together on Sarah's small couch. Vexa's upper right hand rested on Sarah's shoulder while her lower left hand held the human's smaller fingers. The touch was gentle despite the strength behind it. Sarah leaned into the contact and felt something in her chest unwind. Vexa spoke first. Her translator rendered the words with unusual precision. She explained that Xanthir rarely formed bonds with other species, that her people would question her judgment, that loving someone so fragile went against everything her culture valued about strength and survival. Sarah laughed, and the sound surprised them both. She pointed out that humans were supposed to be boring and primitive, that falling for an alien warrior princess was not exactly following Earth's diplomatic guidelines, that they were both breaking rules neither of them cared about anymore. The kiss happened naturally. Vexa was careful with her strength and Sarah was bold despite the difference in their sizes. They fit together in a way that made sense only to them. The relationship became public knowledge within days. Station gossip moved faster than light communication. Reactions ranged from shock to approval to confused indifference depending on who was asked. Earth's diplomatic corps sent urgent messages demanding explanation. The Xanthir High Command remained ominously silent. Sarah prepared for consequences. She drafted her resignation and waited for orders to return home. Instead, Earth's government surprised her by offering support. Humanity's leaders saw the value in maintaining positive relations with the Xanthir through any means available. Some called it pragmatic diplomacy. Others whispered about using Sarah as a political tool. Vexa faced harsher judgment. 3 separate Xanthir commanders challenged her right to command. Ancient tradition required her to defend her position through combat trials. She won all 3 challenges, but the victories cost her standing among conservative factions. Sarah watched the trials from an observation gallery, with her heart in her throat. She saw Vexa fight with desperate precision against opponents who questioned her honor. The human ambassador understood what was at stake and hated her helplessness to change it. After the 3rd trial, Vexa collapsed in the medical bay. Exhaustion and accumulated injuries had finally overwhelmed even her enhanced physiology. Sarah stayed by her side through 2 days of recovery and healing. She held one of Vexa's hands and whispered encouragement when the commander woke in pain. Vexa opened her silver eyes and saw Sarah sitting vigil. She spoke in broken English without using the translator. The words were clumsy but sincere. She said that Sarah was worth more than rank or position or the approval of her people. That love mattered more than tradition. Sarah kissed her forehead and agreed. The relationship stabilized over the following months. Earth and the Xanthir completed their trade agreement with terms favorable to both sides. Sarah and Vexa learned to navigate the politics and prejudice that came with an interspecies bond. They built something that worked despite everyone who said it could not. A year after they met, Vexa resigned her military commission. The decision shocked the Xanthir hierarchy, but she explained her reasoning with characteristic directness. She had served her people for 30 years and earned the right to choose her own path. That path led to Sarah Mitchell and Earth and a future neither of them could have predicted. Sarah accepted a permanent posting as humanity's primary liaison to the Xanthir. She and Vexa established residence on a neutral station that catered to mixed species relationships. They built a life together out of compromise and patience and stubborn determination. The galaxy watched their relationship with mixed reactions. Some saw it